All right, welcome back to another Seminoles Sideline 365 on demand. We are breaking down the breaking news tonight on January 8th that Mike Norvell is signed an extension through the 2029 campaign. Got himself quite a raise. And this comes on the heels of the report that came out earlier this week that Florida State made quite a great profit on the in the I think it was technically the 2022 year, but it didn't even include last season. So we didn't even know how much money they made for the past football season, which was a major success. I think it was a $10 million profit altogether. So that comes on the heels of that news. So it's been all positive news this week in terms of the institution. And maybe that one thing led to another. You come up profitable, and then your coach gets a raise, and I bet there's some correlation to that a little bit. But we're gonna break down, get some initial thoughts. Bruce, old man, what are your initial thoughts, details? What came to your mind as soon as you saw the news come out today?
Yeah, I saw, when I saw the story, the break, we don't break too much news. We don't break any news, probably. We respond and we react, and that's okay. I saw it, and it came out, which I liked that it came out as a quote from Seminoles.com. Now, Seminoles.com, as everybody knows or should know, that's the official media site. That's kind of like the lady who shows up on the White House briefing. She's the spokesperson, the official spokesperson. So if they say it, it's official. Okay, there's no rumors here. Coach Mike Norvell, and I'm going to quote a little bit from their release. He's the 11th full-time head coach. Now is signed and extended through the 2029 season. So that would be basically 6 years, right? You got a 6-year extension. Now, one of the things and let me just say this, then
this
I
article does a really poor job of laying it out, though. I mean,
well, you don't even have to put that shit. Don't even put that. That's up there. They can read that.
This article does a better job of laying it out in terms of the payout structure.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But Norvell, was Alford. Who I kind of like Mike Alford. I think Mike Alford does have a goal of excellence in all FSU sports. And I think he's serious about this. He's got this Jerry Jones look to him, the Dallas Cowboys, that if it's not working, you got to fix it. Now that we're not going to bring up men's basketball, which I've been harping on. That's something he does have to fix, but he has fixed this football thing right now with a long-term contract. He says, Coach Norvell, quote, Coach Norvell has reestablished a culture that the entire Seminole family can appreciate on and off the field. He mentioned high grade point average in program history, unprecedented impact in the community, and drastic improvement on the football field. So I think he sees the potential in Coach Norvell. And here's what he sees. This is a young football coach, head football coach. Now, remember, this is his only second head coaching job. He started with Memphis back in 2016 and burst onto the scene as he was there. He was there 4 seasons with Memphis. Okay, he was 14. He was 12-2, 8-6, 10-3, and 8-5. 8-5. I'm sorry, his first year 8-5, 10-3, 8-6, and then he finished with 12-2, and then he jumps to Florida State. He's a hot property. He comes to Florida State during a tough period when COVID's, the war on COVID is going on. He goes 3-6.
It's all straight. Yeah.
3-6. 5-7, and then boom, out of the box, 10-3. And of course, we have to congratulate him on and off the field, but mainly on the field is what the Seminole fans care about. And 10-3 and projected to have a super season coming up. And now with this extension, the pressure goes up on Coach Norvell. And you mentioned something about money. I don't know anything about the money. Tell me.
Yeah. So Tallahassee Democrat did a much better job of laying this out than the Seminoles.com did. And I don't know if Seminoles.com did that on purpose or
they don't get into money. Seminoles.com, they don't get so much into money.
Let me get into it then, because it's important.
Yeah.
Like it reported, a lot of the outlets are reporting now, he doubles his salary. They got him pretty cheap at $4.5 million, and some of that was because you couldn't afford to pay someone a lot of money, having come off of paying Willie Taggart his buyout. You were in a tough position. The university was in a tough position, especially like you said, during COVID. You were going to a tough period, and having come off of that major payout to pay Willie to hire him, and then payout when he to terminate him early. So you got him at a relatively cheap rate for a hotter commodity. And this is what it looks like in the breakdown. So like it says, by the end of his contract, he'll essentially come close to doubling his $4.5 million salary, a little bit less than that. But it accelerates towards the end. So the longer he stays, and it is backloaded. That's what I like about this contract, is that it's backloaded. So he's incentivized to stay. These contracts don't mean the paper they're written on. No. He can leave whenever he wants to. He could go to he could go to Alabama.
Yeah, but there are stipulations.
What stipulations are there?
Oh, there's most of these. Wait a minute. Most of these contracts have stipulations, either them leaving on their own to get out and get a better job, shorting the contract, or if let's say there's a downturn, and I want to talk about that. Let's say there's a downturn, and we decide to release him, fire him.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that.
There's a buyout.
I'm going to get into that.
There's a buyout for both sides.
Yeah, exactly. He may have to pay some back, but obviously a school will cover that. But the school taking it will likely cover that. But what I like about this is that it is backloaded. You're paying less up front, and towards the tail end, if he stays and everything goes right, he'll be getting paid the max
on performance.
Based on staying around and hopefully the trajectory of the program. He is one of the top now ACC paid coaches behind Dabo, so he's number 2. I still think this is.
You mean in the ACC not nationally?
No, nationally he'll be a top 10 paid coach now.
Okay.
In the country, he'll be number 2 in the ACC. And I still think that you're getting him at a good price in terms of the way that this contract, you're loading him up for, and obviously I do think if in 2 years you're a top 4 team, this will probably be extended again, and he'll get a pay raise to keep him in position. So,
and I'm sure there's incentives in this.
You do see them. The incentives in this contract. Let me pull them up here.
Yeah, because in 2024, the expanded playoffs take place, which he obviously. This administration in Florida State expects him to make those playoffs.
And this is a very incentive-laden contract that you'll see right here.
And while you're looking at that,
I got it right here.
Okay, you got it?
So what we're looking at in terms of incentives, and once again, this is another thing that's not being highlighted, is that, like you said, the big incentives are obviously New Year's Bowl 6 game, those 6 games, New Year's Bowls. The first round of the game, first round game experience. That means in 2024, when it expands, the college football playoff expands, when there's going to be those first round games, that will be kicked in. That will be available. So that's $250K in his pocket. If they make a first round game, then make it to a quarterfinal game, that's $600K in his pocket. So he can make $600K by just those 2 appearances in the same season. They make it to the semifinals, that's another $500K in his pocket. And then national championship game appearance, $750K. So he could make up to $2 million plus, it looks like, or more if they were to somehow win the national championship in a given year. So this is definitely an incentive, because I think the contract itself is good, but it's definitely not a top tier contract. It's top 10, obviously, but for the trajectory of the program, what people are seeing, it's still a good deal for the university. But you do have these big incentives, so he could really tear off another additional $2 or $3 million a year if they perform the way they think they'll perform, and he believes he'll perform. So
here's the good news. Here's the good news. I don't think Coach Norvell is focused on these incentives, and what I mean by that is a good thing. No, wait a minute. What I mean by that is a good thing. This is a young, aggressive, growing football coach. Okay. He's got 7 years of head coaching experience in D1 football. He is focused on a long run here. He's got a lot of years to go. How old is he? I don't even know how old is he? He's 40 something, maybe not even that, 30s. He's only got 7. Yeah, you look that up, and I'll talk here.
He's 41.
He's 41 years old. He could be coaching. What's Mac Brown? 70 plus years old. Mac Brown. What is Saban? 70. You've got coaches out there that are elite coaches. What I'm saying is, by locking him in, you've got a young, highly motivated coach that's more motivated by the game and winning and putting forth good records than just money. As we say, and you know this in the industry, money won't motivate you for long. You must have a passion. And I do believe, win or lose, Coach Norvell has a passion for football, a passion for the people he's bringing in, and a passion to make this a championship environment and potentially stay here a long time, because this is a brand name that he can live with. Okay. He could stay and live with. So given that, I think I agree with you. I think we've made a pretty good deal here.
Yeah, I think it's a good deal, especially in the early years. Like, he's a little bit betting on himself because that is a backloaded contract. So the way he makes up his money in the early years is to reach these plateaus. And I think he believes himself and his players in his program that they're going to be able to reach these incentives very early on in the next 1, 2, 3 years, and they will hit those incentives because, like you said, he may not care about the money, whatever, but at the end of the day, you want to hit those success. Those are his success metrics. Those are his goals. That's what
I think those goals are natural, anyways. Yeah. To a football coach at Florida State, your goals are very easy now. Win the ACC, not just play in it. Win the ACC championship and get to the playoffs. It's 2 goals, and the third goal is to win the whole damn thing. There's 3 easy goals. You don't need a lot of money to incentivize that for a coach like this. Yeah. He's not 70 years old that just doesn't care anymore and is focused on money.
Yeah,
he cares about winning. He cares about winning football.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next thing is, how does the university protect itself? And that's the buyout here. So once again, this article does a great job of pointing out what is the buyout in the contract and how.
This is a great article. Tallahassee Democrat.
Yeah. And so
salute off to you, brother.
And so once again, the longer the contract goes, the more the buyout lowers and the more they're on the hook for. So, once again, you don't want to be stuck with a huge buyout in case things go sour. And I think that we're on a great trajectory of this program, the culture, who's in the locker room, who they're recruiting, who they're bringing in. So you feel safe in the first, couple of years that you're not going to have to pay $6 or $4 million to get out of this deal. But then as things go on, if things go south in year 3 or 4 or 5 of this contract, when the most money is due to him, you can get out of it and save yourself some money. So I think I like the structure of it.
Yeah, I think, aren't we still paying money to Jimbo Fisher and still paying money
you're not still paying for
Willie?
Jimbo.
Okay,
why Willie. Would you be paying Jimbo? He left.
I don't know. Shit. He had a ton of money. It may be still rolling out there. I don't know.
Jimbo left, though. He wasn't fired.
No, I know. I'm just.
Why would you pay for a coach
who left? He had to pay for us. No, okay. I got you. No, I got you, man. So Willie Taggart didn't leave under his own volition. He was forced out the door. And I still think we're paying him, right?
I don't know. This may be
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Once again, this contract is, in my opinion, set up correctly because the next couple of years should be successful, and it's sideways. You're not paying him as much now, but the buyout is high. Yeah. So either way, if he fails, you're gonna have to buy him out, but you're saving yourself some money, and on the back end, you're paying him more. But the buyout's less. So if things go south, it's good balance for him. It's good balance for the university either way. Hopefully it doesn't fail, so you don't have to trigger this action. But if things go sour in year 3 or 4, you're saying yourself,
which can happen.
You'll pay $2 million, but you'll save yourself a lot of money. So say you have to pay him $2 million, you'll save yourself about $7 million, $5 million, $4 million by year 4, and pay him $2 million to walk away. So it is nicely set up in the further years. So once again, I think it's a good contract for both ends, and I like the way it's structured. Yeah. And in context, people are going to say, "Well, he should be paid more. Look at where we're going." Da da da.
No. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about that,
and that's why I want to look in context of coaches. And this is a great article by Sportico, and where these coaches rank across all sports. Like, this is a lot of money for across all pro sports in the U.S. But you see here in the college coaches and what these coaches have accomplished and how much they're paid. Mike Norvell hasn't done anything at Florida State. Let's just be honest. He hasn't won the ACC title. He hasn't won the playoff appearance. He hasn't been in the playoffs yet. He hasn't accomplished anything, and he's doubling his salary. Doubling his salary is great. He is underpaid, I think, for what college he's making less than half of what these guys paid, but he's not their level yet. He proved himself, got to 10 wins. He proved his vision out. He got his raise. Great. But to say, if anyone argues he should be being paid more than Kirby or Dabo and be the highest paid coach in the ACC, I think that is absurd, because nonsense. He has not won the national championship. He has not won a conference title. He has not had a playoff appearance. I know he's a young coach, so those are fewer opportunities. But he is not on this list for a reason. And we could argue all day that some of these
he understands that, and Norvell understands that. I'm sure. Listen, I think his agent is Jimmy Sexton, right? Yeah, I think I read that one point. I think it's Jimmy Sexton. I thought he had Fisher and Norvell. I could be wrong. You might look it up. But here, I want to reiterate your point while you're maybe researching that a little bit, KB, is you're exactly right. Mike Norvell now has a good deal in place. It's a very highly incentivized deal. That's all good. I think he understands that, or he would have never accepted it. He would have still been leveraging or trying to leverage this. Now, here's the good news. He's now been extended 6 years. That puts you in a stable boat so that nobody can go out and recruit against you and say, well, Norvell could leave in a year or two. Well, that's not true anymore. Norvell is here for a good several years. Now, back to your point in terms of, no, he shouldn't be the highest paid guy in the ACC. Mike Norvell's record, let's remember, at Florida State is 18-16. 18 wins, 16 losses. He's 2 games over 500. He's had one great year, good year, very good year out of 3. He was 3-6, 5-7, and 10-3. This is a pressure year coming up. Now, with this extended contract, there's more pressure to perform on him. So the pressure is building for this 2023 season. Okay. And luckily and unluckily, if the playoffs were expanded this season, there'd be more pressure for him to make those playoffs and be one of those 12 teams.
I think he has. I don't think there could be any more pressure on him now signing this deal. And I think he has to know that. You are getting substantial. You're now a top 10 paid coach. And if you do not compete for an ACC title, get to the game and play well and win it, I think he's going to have more heat than ever. He's no longer the 33rd paid coach in America. He just doubled his salary and became a top 10 paid coach overnight with just 110-win season on his record. Like you said, the 18-16 at Florida State. He's now put this pressure on his back and put the target on himself to say, you now have to maintain this. You cannot go back to winning 7 or 8 games. This is the standard now. And so that is squarely on his shoulders. He is now, he signed that to paper. This is what I'm signing to. And once again, Florida State, the athletic department is now committing to him fully and saying, we believe that you are going to move this. We believe that your plan after Jordan Travis is going to work. We believe, even though the recruiting results in high school have not come yet, that you're going to turn that part of this program around too, that you're going to build sustainability even after Jordan Travis leaves. So that, it's both on the AD, but it's also on Mike that his vision is sustainable, and that this is a big year for him, because if he does not produce this season at ACC championship, it could go the heat is gonna be turned up even more with this contract.
Well, I think the first step is he's got to get to the ACC championship game.
Minimum. It's minimum.
That's a minimum. Now, whether and really winning the ACC championship is step 2, but I think with this team, the way it's structured and coming back, there's not going to be any reason for excuses to not win the ACC championship this coming season. And we can't have the excuses. Well, we had too many injuries, or the quarterback went down, and well, that's your responsibility. If you go into the season with a quarterback room that you have, it's your responsibility, coach. There will be no excuses. Well, the backup didn't have enough snaps, and we got hurt with the injury bug. Everybody gets hurt with the injury bug. So you're right. There will be no excuses and full accountability. This is the year to win this championship because of the personnel you have coming back. We're not going to list them tonight, but it is locked and loaded for this team to go through that championship door this year.
Yeah.
And win the state championship as well, which is an important step.
Yeah, I mean,
and let me say one other thing, and you and I have talked offline about this. When do we stop as a program having to recruit 3-star guys? When do we reach? Do we reach that when we win the ACC championship? Then we're only looking at 4 stars and 5-star guys. We should be targeting the best 4 and 5-star guys across the country. Target them. We give offers out to everybody else. Send them a damn offer. Stay in touch with them. Even if you think you don't have much of a chance, okay, you stay in touch with them. Establish your level that we're going after the very best. We don't have to beg anybody anymore. If you want to get to that next level, I think that's going to be an important thing that we start doing.
Yeah.
And we'll have another show about. I was astonished by all the preferred walk-ins that there's been a big hoopla about, and so on. But I think it's a good deal for Florida State. It's a good deal for Mike Norvell, but it does add a lot of pressure.
It does, and I think one thing to point out too, and I think this could be small change. You say whatever is that during the COVID year too, Mike Norvell did take a voluntary pay cut, which a lot of people did across the administration, I think. But he did take a pay cut his first year at Florida State because of COVID and funding and stuff like that. So, it is nice to see him get paid. And like you said, but he is taking on that pressure. He got a success. He's building it, but that pressure is going to come with that paycheck. And Florida State also too, they're taking the risk too, because that payout is between $6 and $4 million these next 2 years. So I don't expect them hopefully to make that decision, but you would have to wait at least 3 years if this thing turns south next year. If this thing goes off the rails for whatever reason, you would have to wait a minimum of 3 years until.
Well, I think it's
I don't see that happening.
I think it's a definition of what goes off the rails. If you're not winning an ACC championship, is that off the rails?
Yes.
If you're only winning 7, 8, 9 games a season, is that off the rails?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's your definition of off the rails.
If you're only winning 7, 8 games and not competing for the ACC title, yes, that's off.
And then you fire the coach and have to pay him the remaining money.
But they could not afford, I don't think, to pay him till his 3rd year with this new contract.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can't pay $4 or $6 million buyout again.
We're going to find out, but there's a hell of a lot of pressure. It's going to bring a lot of anticipation, which we already know about, because spring football, as I tweeted out, starts 6 March.
But I'm excited.
And they're excited about that. They've already had their tour of duty, and a couple of the new portal guys and some of the high school guys coming in said it was brutal. They've never been through anything like that before. And it was a new scene for them, but they said they were all willing to go through it. They learned a lot about themselves to push themselves. And I can, I think it's something that you start to learn about yourself. You learn about your team. And I think it's a great thing that they have that tour duty. The spring football is going to generate a lot of excitement.
All right. Well, yeah, let us know in the comments below what you guys think about the contract, the details we went through. Do you think it's a good deal for Florida State? Do you think it's a good deal for Mike Norvell? Do you think it's a good deal for both sides? And do you think he can live up to the terms of that contract? Because it is, like you said, a top 10 deal, and he'll be paid more at the back end of it. But I think like we said, I think it's a fair deal for now, and we think he can live up to it. We just hope we keep the momentum going on. But let us know in the comments what you guys think of it.
And the last question you should put down there, your comment is, does the old man know what the hell he's talking about?
No. You thought we were paying Jimbo Fisher for leading, so I don't think so. So, all right, everyone, have a great night. Let us know your comments, and we'll see you on another show. Take care, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.